Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my 12-part eclipse series on the eclipses going through the signs and houses. Definitely go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com, which is my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, to enroll in free courses and all kinds of other offerings I have through there. And when you search for my name, Annie Botticelli, in an internet search, you'll see all kinds of listings of mostly free resources that I make for you to facilitate your study of astrology and your quest for vibrational wellness. So this series is talking about eclipses. I'm doing one eclipse video for each sign and house. Okay, so every sign in astrology corresponds with a house in the zodiac wheel. And so an eclipse in a certain sign is also the energy of that corresponding house. And this becomes very helpful to understand when you want to go deeper in your study of eclipses and how they may affect you, and understanding the opportunities and the lessons that are at play during each eclipse cycle. Each eclipse cycle is about 2 years long, and every 6 months in those 2 years we have a hot spot where the actual eclipses occur. So the storylines, the themes, the lessons, the opportunities, the chances to clear karma and get on our dharmic path, which is our highest expression path, which is what the eclipses really represent. They occur along the nodal line, and the nodes represent clearing karma and stepping into our highest expression. So every eclipse that we have and every eclipse cycle that's at play is really facilitating us in healing, clearing karma, and on stepping on our highest trajectory, which is our dharma, our purpose, why we're here. So that's why it's really important to understand them, and why I spend so much time creating resources to facilitate this for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on what eclipses, what they represent and what they can bring, and then we'll go into the featured sign and house for this video. Okay, so these eclipses happen twice a year usually. Sometimes it's every 6 months basically, so it could be the beginning of one year and then in the middle and then towards the end, or they're broken up that way. So when the eclipses come, they tend to bring alive and into clear view that scientific law that matter is not created, neither created nor destroyed, it just changes form. We can really see that at play at the eclipses, where it's taking energy from one area, because the eclipses run with polarities. Okay, so there are 12 signs and there are 6 polarities. So there's signs that oppose each other, that are a pair. And the eclipses happen in these 2 opposing signs throughout that 2 years. So it's a reshuffling and a reworking of energy. So one eclipse cycle, it will take from one area and add to the other, and vice versa. So we're just kind of shifting and reshuffling and reorganizing energy in those arenas of your life. The eclipses occur in certain signs, and those effects are global. But they also drill down into certain areas of your chart for each sign, and that understanding this and watching these videos will help you to take the work deeper. Now, in order to figure out during each eclipse cycle what houses are being accentuated for you personally, just watch my monthly videos, and somewhere in the area of the eclipse time, I'll be talking about it, but it will save me a lot of time having this video series to refer you to, so we don't have to cover all of this in each of the horoscope videos, which is what I used to do. Okay, so this reshuffling of energy, where basically the energy isn't it isn't created, it changes forms. So we might see a grandparent die and a child be born. So for that person who's experiencing that, it's like an area of their lives that was present with them for their whole lives is gone, but now this new energy is here. So it's like this major reshuffling of energy, and it very often has very, very major trajectory changes for a lot of people, and it's going to depend on the exact degree that it's hitting planets in your chart. But if it's really affecting you, you'll know it. Everybody else may have a subtle change that's harder to notice or recognize, but it's definitely affecting everyone, regardless of whether we're aware of it or not. And the more you look, the more you'll see these things at play. So eclipse season, what I call eclipse season, lasts about 4 to 6 and even sometimes 8 weeks before the actual eclipse. You'll see a heating up. It's kind of like, I always think about it as a pot on a stove, where it's like a certain pot, okay, and a certain liquid in that pot that has a certain energy that has the signs that are in that eclipse cycle. And during the actual eclipse time, it heats up to a boil, you know? And then during the times in between, it's like down to a simmer. And then we turn up, you know, the universe cranks up the messages and they convert from the inner world into the outer world, and we get to see them more clearly. And so it heats up and then it kind of fades back down. It heats up, but the themes are always at play for these 2 months. For these 2 years. Okay, so just make sure I tell everything else. So the things that happen at eclipse time tend to feel destined a lot of times, where things happen, and a lot of times it's out of our control. Eclipses often bring non-negotiable changes to our lives. It can be very scary and very stressful. So it's definitely a key point around eclipse time to do modalities that help you to ease anxiety, and I discuss those in videos and other offerings that I have on how you can keep the anxiety level low so that you can stay connected with your intuition and with spirit and navigate through them in the easiest way. Okay, so even though there are certain things in our lives that are fated and unavoidable, there are definitely things we have some say in, and we can shift our experience of those events. So understanding all of these things and doing inner work to help clear out the karmic gunk that's coming up can be part of how we can have a better experience of the things that are fated to happen. Okay, so just make sure there's everything I wanted to talk about there. Okay, yeah, so just the overview is that eclipses as an astronomical occurrence happen at the time they're happening, but eclipses as an astrological occurrence happen for all of the time they're occurring. And you'll notice for the years that a certain eclipse cycle is happening, if you go back to the last time or last times that eclipse cycle happened, there are themes at play that will likely come back into your life. It doesn't mean the same things will happen per se, but you'll see the same lessons, the same topics that are moving you along in a certain area of life. Okay, so now let's check out the sign and house of focus. Eclipse season, which I call the 4 to 6 weeks before or after eclipses, tend to bring in themes that had been in process and tend to bring movement along in certain areas of life. When there are eclipses in the 8th house or Scorpio, the focus comes to everything in these divisions. So dramatic endings, brilliant new beginnings, trajectory shifts, breakthroughs, sudden news that changes everything are very common at this time. So the 8th house in Scorpio relates to other people's money. This is a general topic, and under that header, there are many different things. We've got familial money, so like from your parents or other family members. We have spousal money, so, you know, you and your partner, their work, their income, their lives, their family. And so something can happen with a spouse that affects you. And also your shared money. It's other people's money, and it's also shared money. So, you know, collaborations where you're working, sharing your resources with other people's resources. Capital, if you need money for something. So getting loans, new loans, current or prospective loans. So trying to get a loan for something. This can also have to do with credit cards, debt, taxes. So we often see things notable. You know, maybe taxes are paid off, or a tax bill comes, or something notable as far as it relates to a tax profile. This also has to do with intimacy, like deep emotional closeness, and also anything having to do in the sexual realm. So very notable occurrences can happen. Major endings of intimate relationships, major breakthroughs in intimacy, new partners coming in, new experiences. The topic of power is one that's very common at eclipse time with 8th house and Scorpio representation. How other people are using power, how you are using your power. You know, people not using their power in the right way. People who have power and influence that you connect with that can help you, or you using your power or influence to affect or help other people. Psychology and parapsychology are also topics that are in the 8th house. So basically understanding how how the human mind works and what makes people tick, the interest in studying that, the lines of work that rule that, also anything having to do with investments, like financial investments or cryptocurrency, new opportunities, things closing, drama, moving along a continuum, new chapters in anything with finances or investments, or how you go about investing, or philosophies, or the psychology of money and the psychology of just in general. So studying those things, parapsychology. So once you get deep into psychology, there's a pretty easy line into parapsychology. And then in that realm, it's directly connected. Everything is spirit. So spiritual breakthroughs, spiritual studies, I see a lot of palmistry, I Ching, astrology, numerology, metaphysics in this area. So breakthroughs along those fronts, or new resources, or new teachers, or you doing your work in those realms. And this can actually just be mainstream psychology as well. But it can be anything esoteric. Anything that's like the most mundane as far as it relates to psychology, or anything that's the most expanded, and kind of out of the main sector. The topic of mysteries is common. So solving a mystery, having a new mystery come in, having mysterious circumstances, or even for some people it's just writing a mystery book, or getting really into reading a mystery book. So just the topic of the things that are lesser seen is really what the themes are that, that have to do with this eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. Some of the ways I've seen it manifest are, marriages where your money is combined, divorces where your money is separated, people passing away or discussing wills or naming you in an inheritance, whether they're here or not, the topic of what happens to your money or someone else's money when you or they transition. Anything having to do with the pairing up or the merging of resources on any level. So I've seen people win the lotto with things like in here. I've seen people win sweepstakes. I've seen major luck in money happen, and I've seen major surprise expenses or other notable things involving money happen. All eclipses tend to bring a strong amount of emotion because eclipses are related to the moon, and the moon rules our inner realm, our emotional space. But when there's an eclipse in a water sign, and specifically Scorpio, which is really, a very deep abyss of energy, there does tend to be quite a bit of emotion. And this can be for better or worse, but it is, very emotional when the eclipse happens in Scorpio or the 8th house. So having a way to deal with these intense emotions is one of the best ways to be prepared for this eclipse cycle, because you can be more clear and make better decisions and make better use of the opportunities that come, navigate through any challenges that come when you can take the emotional charge off of things. I have a lot of things that I love for emotional energy, but EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, you can look this up online, has a lot of good science behind it. It's not just an energy tool. And you can manage your emotions and clear through emotional patterning with that resource. And there's tons of free stuff online. And it's important to focus on the emotional realm, even if it's not coming from the outside, because this 8th house, with being the house of psychology, also has to do with the emotional patterning that creates the fabric of your reality. So making major changes in the patterns of your life is another way that the 8th house can show up. And this can also include the topic of codependency, which I also list under 7th house and Libra eclipses, because these 7th and 8th houses are the partnership houses. So how you relate to other people, your relationship to relationship, not just the key relationships, are something that tends to come up when there's an eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. And the question of your
your energy and other people's energy, your money and other people's money, and finding a balance and finding, your footing in resources and connections with others is going to be a major hot topic at this time.
So I hope you loved this. Definitely look at my other resources. If you search for my name, Annie Botticelli, online, you'll find tons of things that I offer you. You can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, for lots of blogs and other things that can facilitate your journey. You can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com for written horoscopes, lifestyle blogs, and astrology kissed information that I think you will just love. You can go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com, to see my school, Luminous Life Multiversity. And definitely check out my growing list of books, including my new book, Planetology. If you search for Annie Botticelli and Planetology and Annie Botticelli, Radical Prayer, those are the two books that are out as of the time of my recording this. And I'm sure as this goes on, you will see more books coming out from me. I hope you have a wonderful eclipse season, and I'll see you in another video.